Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to your Wednesday dose of hobby nightmares. First of all, if you want to get any sort of hobby things over the next couple of days, then please head on over to Composite Games to help us out on the channel. If you enter the promo code Northern Exile down below, you get an extra 5% off at checkout. They already give you 20% off, so you could end up with 25% off at checkout, which is awesome. And also, if you would like a real opportunity to actually win some models, the £30 worth of free models from Composite Games, no matter where you are in the world, then please consider becoming a Patreon of the channel, or becoming a member of the channel, because all of you will end up on one of these thank you pages, and if you're on one of these thank you pages, you will be entered into the prize draw every single month as one of the Astral backers, where you will have 2 chances to win £30 worth of models. Awesome stuff, and I don't care what models they are either. I don't even care where you are in the world. I will ship them to you, because we love you here. We want to make sure you're alright. In terms of the US stuff, it is really difficult, I'm finding, to get a merchandising gig for the channel from another country for general tax reasons. So you have to leave it with me, guys. I'm fighting for you. I'm going to try and make sure that you've got what you need in terms of hobby supplies and stuff, and I can get you some money off from a US store or an Australian store. I know you guys down in Australia really need it too, so leave it with me. I'm working for you. I will get it done. It's just taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Anyway, let's jump on to some hobby nightmares, shall we? I have one which is very personal to me later on, which is interesting because that hasn't happened very often, to be honest with you. So, Boss Gadge says, Boss Gadge, are you from the northeast? Because Gadgy is something that they say in the northeast. It's some sort of bloke, a guy. Anyway, Boss Gadge says, Hi Northern, I first got into tabletop models with Lord of the Rings when it first came out. I've been looking at Warhammer 40,000 for years, and one of my friends had a Catachan army that we used to play with in the playground at primary school. Not actual 40k rules, just using them like army men. I used to get some White Dwarf magazines, but I always had this idea that it was an exclusive club, and you couldn't just turn up and play at the store. One day, I went in with my friend to get started in 40k. Fair enough. He decided to start a new Tau army, and as they had not long been released. We were young, and the store was typical of that era. As in, it's far better these days. In that we were walking a gauntlet of, without being a dick, people who didn't care about personal hygiene or presentation. We went up to the back of the store, where they had a display cabinet and a couple of gaming tables. My friend was commenting on a Tau battlesuit in the case, and how cool it was, clutching his box of Fire Warriors. All of a sudden, for absolutely no reason, this old, sweaty and unkempt man, who checked every physical stereotype of a wargamer, pipes up with, Ha! Tau? Who would ever want to play Tau? As if my friend had just said he wanted to play as the fucking SS. Like I've said, we were both young kids. It was our first time in the store to take our first steps into the hobby. We felt like it was exclusive for some reason, almost like a club. But we went in, and as soon as one of us expressed enthusiasm, we were met with this hideous man. Needless to say, we left, went home, and never played again. Oh, fucking hell. We both continued collecting Lord of the Rings models, but never again set foot in a GW. It was only when I was older that I went back, and happily discovered the crowd, including the staff, were now all very normal, decent people. But that experience with the one man as a kid almost put me off for life. I'm so glad things aren't the same there now, because I'd hate for kids to get put off like I was. Cheers for everything you do, mate. Here's the thing, right? If you're, and I've said this before in different videos, if you're a part of the hobby, and you have younger people around you, it is your responsibility to make sure that they're having a good time. I know a lot of you would be like, no, it's not, I can go and do what I want. No. When I say it's your responsibility to make sure they're having a good time, don't be a dick to them, right? Don't treat them like they're wrong for liking the things that they like. Just is what it is, right? If I can look at a Space Wolf player who is under the age of 16, and I can treat their hobby with the absolute gusto, as if they're collecting the greatest army I've ever heard of in my entire life. If I can do that for minimum wage, you can do it for other armies for free. Do you know what I mean? Just don't be a prick. Don't be that guy. people like the things that they like, and they're completely allowed to like the things that they like. Not everybody has to conform to what you want to do. Do you know what I mean? Just step off. Because, you know, people are a lot more fragile in the hobby than what you think. This is a very niche hobby, as I said before. It takes a lot for somebody to walk into a Games Workshop when they've never been there before and to get involved in the games. It takes very little to push them away and make sure that they're not going to come back. Don't contribute to the death of the hobby, please. Don't be that guy. Anyway. Duke Leto is back, ladies and gents. And he has a fair few stories, which is good, because he's a very good writer. So, he says, greeting fellow Nightmare enthusiasts, and greeting Northern. Hello. Thanks so much for reading my multiple submissions lately. I'm on vacation with the family, so no gaming allowed, and you guys have been my only outlet. Oh, that's good. I have a somewhat encouraging nightmare as it relates to gaming, which involves teaching the next generation of players. Alright. Right up my alley, it seems. The company I work for was approached by the local school administration for volunteers to mentor troubled youth. The intent was simply to spend time with kids occasionally during school hours and be a friend, basically. I volunteered and met my assigned student. Let's call him Ivan for the sake of privacy. Okay. He was in 4th grade and overly short for his age, which resulted in him being picked on at school. Happens. He was a bright kid, and he said he enjoyed Marvel and Star Wars and stuff. Sensing that the nerd was strong in this one, I decided to bring in some Marvel action figures. We were going to play an ad hoc tabletop wargame during our 45 minutes mentoring session. Things were going great, and he picked up my goofy rules pretty quick. We each got 4 superhero characters or villains. Movement was simply the length of a piece of string. Combat was simply whoever could roll the highest die, 3 wounds per model. We'd alternate moves, 2 actions per model. Move, move twice, shoot, or melee. Eventually, we added special powers like flying, super speed, buffs for strength or wounds, etc. You get the point. We used simple books and toy blocks as terrain. He absolutely loved it, and some of his friends are looking since we were playing in the library. Needless to say, the next time I came to play, the librarian was not having it. Apparently the sound of dice on the table and a bit of whispering was too much to handle. I remember arguing with her and rattling off a litany of benefits that wargaming provides the kids, and I remember seeing the cross-eyed look on the librarian's face. I might as well have been telling her we were synthesizing crack cocaine. The office woman on duty came to her rescue, however, she was equally as butthurt and just reiterated the need for quiet mentoring during the session. What the hell? My blood began to boil, as I couldn't believe that these two would give me shit for my volunteering time, and how in the world they could not look our game and think that this was the coolest thing ever. Wow, man, I'm just going to take a step back. You are a diamond in the rough type of wargamer, dude. Please, more people like this need to be in the hobby. Thank you very much. Anyway, the part that was really killing me was that they couldn't think of a creative way to solve this problem. It was just their way or the highway. Yeah, these two seem like utter Jobsworths, mate. I hope you go and find another space, to be honest with you, to go and play it. But anyway, I kept my cool and left. Later, I escalated the issue with the head administrator over the phone. A guy, by the way. Eventually, he earned his pay that day and found us a new room that was capable of being under surveillance due to child protection policies, so that we could still play the game and not disturb anybody. I went on to gradually build up the complexity after 3 years of mentoring. We used Lego Star Wars figures, even Matchbox cars, for high-speed car battles whilst using books as ramps. Each game had to be done in 4 to 5 minutes, so I had to keep the rules super simple. He almost shit his pants when I brought my painted Warhammer models in for a quick skirmish. Eventually, I started to teach him to paint. Oh, look at this, the enabler. I lost touch with Ivan, but my hope is that he will remember those games fondly. I remember his friends occasionally looking in at the window at what we were doing. He'd leave smiling, and I had to imagine that he was able to brag about it. God only knows what his mum at home thought about it all. I know you work closely with kids, but what are the top 3 to 5 aspects of wargaming that you feel kids benefit from. Cheers. Here's to teaching a new generation about the hobby. All right. Probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever read. Thank you very much for sending that in. What are the top 3 to 5 aspects of wargaming that you feel kids benefit from? Number 1 is teamwork and compassion. That is number 1. Even if they're playing on their own, if you're playing Warhammer in the right way, then, or wargaming in general, the other person that you're playing against is still on the same team as you. You're telling a story together. You're having a really cool battle and blowing shit up together. So the more you look at it that way, the more it becomes more of a cooperative experience, and it allows them to develop these skills at making sure that they have empathy with other people. Empathy is very huge, and it means that they're learning how to win and they're learning how to lose. Those are another good things that actually are very good for them. Second most important thing, I would say the social aspect. The amount of people that I know that have been pulled out of a real miasma of awful by wargaming in general is beyond the pale. I've told that story before about the kid in the store who couldn't speak because of a mental deficiency that he had. And then eventually he was speaking and talking and laughing and all sorts in the store. And Warhammer did that. Nobody else did that. The game did that. Right? The people who were playing the game did that over weeks and weeks and weeks. And eventually he was talking and his dad just broke down crying because he couldn't believe that his kid is now, completely verbal with people that he doesn't even know, So it teaches that. It teaches a build-up of social skills. Even if you don't have any mental deficiencies or anything like that. If you are a shy person, it really does make you come out of your box, come out of your shell a little bit, and make sure that you're interacting with people on a regular basis. In terms of practicality, it really helps with skills like maths, spatial awareness, tactical thinking, problem solving. Right? If you've read The Art of War by Sun Tzu, which is very good if you want to get into how to solve different problems in life, especially when it's got a good translation, or even the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, where he's talking about how to solve different problems socially in life. A lot of those things are actually worked through in a wargaming space. You're naturally working through several of these techniques that you can use to make yourself a better social mover later in life through every single battle that you face in wargaming. So those are the top 3 for me. So you've got the social aspect, the empathetic aspect, and the teamwork aspect are the top 3 things that I would really put forward as a model for people in schools going forwards. And beyond that, it also gives you something to give a creative outlet to. I think it's very important to nurture the imagination of children and the imagination of kids, which is why I was going on about the grooming thing the other day. I think it's very, very, very important that we let kids be kids. And one of the main things to do that is to give them an outlet to get their imaginative juices flowing, to get it all going. And the amount of kids that I've said to them in the past, when I ran a school campaign in my own store, I actually said, look, we're going to be making our own models, our own units. And when you've made that unit, we're going to give them rules. You're going to write rules for them, and then in our campaign, you're going to be able to use them with their own special rules. And these rules are always way overpowered by design, because they spent their birthday money on creating these units that they could then use in a battle. I had one Imperial Fist player called Paul, who's 13, and he created the Phalanx. He called it the Midnight Phalanx because all of his Imperial Fists were all in black armor. And so we used breacher shields, and whenever this unit of 10 to 20 Marines was in a block, you could only actually hit them on a 6, because they were all locked in shields together, And they actually, if they were the closest model to you, you had to fire at them and no one else, right? Because they were just holding the central ground or something like that. Anyway, this incredible thing that he came up with, but that was all him. He had lore for them. He had backgrounds for each and every single one of the warriors, and all that. So that is one of the most important aspects of the hobby too. There's at least 4. The hobby's amazing for people who are kids or people who have mental disabilities or anything like that. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, Marshall Meg is here again, who may be coming into one of the RP things that we got going on. Maybe we'll see. Greetings again, Mr. Exile. I am writing back with a positive story about Warhammer 40k, as I mentioned my experience in the hobby has been very good in my first submission. My favourite story from your channel is the one where the guy bought a kid all of those Necron models, and I really enjoy the positive submissions interspread amongst the nightmares as they remind us of why this hobby is awesome, as I wanted to contribute one of my own. Excellent. This is a story of my favourite narrative gaming moment I've had thus far. It pains me to say this, but nearly all of my local hobby friends and family are traitors. We have Thousand Suns, World Eaters, and Death Guard. You know what? That's really cool, because that means you've got loads of opponents. You know? I also know an Orc player who is an awesome guy, but aside from some people's smaller secondary armies, I am the lone, loyal servant of the Emperor in a sea of chaos. Yep, you're never going to be short of opponents though, that's the main thing. The Emperor is my favourite character in the lore, so naturally I play the Adeptus Custodes. When I got back into the actual hobby part of 40k about 3 years ago, when everybody else did, I started with AdMech based on my friend's advice after discussing what kind of playstyle I wanted. It was between Custodes and AdMech for me at the time. I got the Combat Patrol, painted it up, and played a few small games with them before concluding that it wasn't the army for me, really. I passed them on to an AdMech player to add to their army and went all in with Custodes. 2 years later, I have over 3,000 points of them with some Forge World and unique stuff from Etsy mixed in. I mention them as the Custodes will come into play later. Okay, excellent. Right, my first 40k army many years ago was the Imperial Guard. I'm honestly not sure what edition this was, but I'm told the codex I still have from the army is 5th edition. It is an army that will always hold a special place in my heart, and probably my second favourite thing in the lore. I needed a break from painting gold power armour before my blood was replaced entirely with Retributor armour and Viking Flesh Shade Gloss. Rest in peace, Gloss Shade, you will be missed. Therefore, I decided to start building up some Imperial Guard again. Our narrative really needed another loyalist force in it as well. I got to start collecting for Guard, and it got built. I wanted to give them a try, so this resulted in a small game of Imperial Guard versus Death Guard. Now, I do not like fighting Death Guard. My only unpleasant experience since coming back to 40k was my second game of 9th edition that can be summed up as new player gets owned by Death Guard stratagems they did not know about. Yeah, that's 8th edition, and well, sorry, that's 9th edition in a nutshell, Meg. I am so impressed by the one-page rules that I might actually start just playing with them exclusively. I don't know, but they're just amazing. So I would really recommend them if you're getting annoyed by all the stratagems and the bloat. Because Games Workshop can't seem to stop bloating up all of their games. Horus Heresy plays so well, but I'm telling you now, I'll give it 6 months before they fill that with bloat as well and slow the game down to a fucking crawl. To be fair to that opponent, so Meg says, they were decent about it afterwards. I went into this particular game not expecting to win because I've never played this army in this edition and the codex is quite old. I was fine with this considering the context. The story that my plucky and fresh-faced guardsmen were defending a town from a small force of Death Guard. I like hearing about people's homebrew lore in these stories, and I could go into too much detail, but will keep it brief and just describe the setup. Our narrative all takes place on a planet full of hidden secrets from the golden age of technology. The different factions either want it for themselves or want to keep it out of the hands of others. The Death Guard wanted to locate an ancient and sealed lab rumoured to be near the location and said to contain engineered viruses and bioweapons, otherwise lost to time. If the Imperial Guard manages to just hold out for a while and delay the enemy, that's enough for a victory for them. I'll try to relate the battle as well as I can recall. My army is just a start collecting box, 10 guardsmen, heavy weapons team, Lemon Rust, tank, commissar, plus an additional 10 guardsmen. The Death Guard is primarily Poxwalkers, Plague Marines, and a Blight Hauler, all of equivalently small points value. The Guard takes cover amongst the terrain and does their best to stay out of the way of the auras and diseases while they pick off their enemy from afar. The assumption going into this game was that this would be an easy win for the Death Guard. Instead, the Imperial Guard comes out swinging with some of the best dice rolls I've ever gotten. Guardsmen are wiping out Poxwalkers with the lasguns, and the tank is being far more strategic and effective than the Primarch it's named after. Heavy weapons team has a poor showing initially, but significant damage is done to the enemy overall. Death Guard rolls poorly during their first turn, and mostly concentrates on moving slowly up the board. Death Guard continues doing well, with the heavy weapons team wiping out nearly all the remaining Poxwalkers on its next turn. As the battle continues, unfortunately, the durability of the Death Guard begins to even things out, and the Plague Marines have weapons that chew through the brave guard defenders of the Imperium. After a few turns, our small forces are down to less than 5 surviving guardsmen, and their commissar, while the Death Guard have been reduced to half a unit of Plague Marines and their HQ. Realistically, there is no way what remains of the Imperial Guard can win, but we are both impressed by how well they've done. My opponent, who is a good friend, knows about my bad game against the Death Guard, and suggests that we call it a draw, because both sides have taken so much damage, they decide to retreat and regroup to fight again another day. This is reasonable, but the universe of 40k isn't a reasonable place. I explain that my commissar is so fanatically devoted to the Imperium that I just can't see him doing that, and he is going to charge the Death Guard with the remaining guardsmen, shooting any that didn't agree with his plan for cowardice, and die a glorious death because there is no greater honour than to die in service to the Emperor. This led to an exchange that boiled down to, really? Yes, I think it would be great. Besides, he's mad that he hasn't gotten to hit any traitors with his power sword yet. Wow, even the Imperium is crazy. That's why it's totally awesome, I say. My opponent then suggested that I go grab one of my squads of 3 Alarus Custodians, they are the Terminator ones who can deep strike, who we teleport in and save the brave hero of the Imperium if things go badly. We agree this will be a great narrative moment, and I can get some revenge against the Death Guard no matter what happens. Besides, this is a casual test out of this army skirmish anyway. Things went badly. As expected, so the 3 Custodians arrived in a flash of golden light, and the surviving Death Guard made a hasty retreat. This has ultimately resulted in a house rule for my Imperial Guard, where if that specific character is going to be killed, we roll for Custodes. Which is like rolling to see if something explodes, only with giant transhuman guardians in golden armour. I've attached a photo of my commissar and his friends, so you can share or not as you see fit. Thanks and keep up the good work. I would love to share them, but yeah, OBS is playing up a bit at the moment, so I don't really, don't really want to be able to get all that under the microscope there. But I will do next time. Brilliant story though. I love narrative campaigns, and I love it when 2 players come together to solve problems in the hobby. It's just brilliant. It's beautiful. We do have a story by Wolflord, but I'm going to save it till next time, because I think it works better in the next batch of stories. So, we'll move on to a story from Barthol, which is the one that is a bit more personal to me, since I've read it. So, I was trying to work out who this was, by the way, when I was reading it, and I have figured it out. So, hello Barthol, how are you, man? Hi Exile. Hello. Just wanted to post a short story to you about my time at Warhammer World as a staff member. This is a hobby nightmare that kills me when I try to remember it, thanks to its awkwardness. That is Voldemort sending me a message. Oh, that's nice. Anyway. I sent him on first, by the way. People aren't just reaching out to me. I'm not very famous. No one knows who I am. Yeah, I emailed him first. Anyway. Coming back. This is a hobby nightmare that kills me when I try to remember it, thanks to its awkwardness. I should get on with it, but fair to say, I now still work for GW in its offices, studio, and a fair few of us in our work WhatsApp group share your videos when some of us need to vent or have a laugh. We treat you as the one that got away, if that makes you feel any better, and I did actually meet you at Bugman's twice. Alright. I showed you the Skittle Tyranids that almost made you ill to look at. So for those of you who don't know, well, none of you will know, but the Skittle Tyranids were basically every single plate of his Tyranids, the armoured plating that they got on their backs, was painted a different bright colour. And it just made me want to just puke my guts out. I mean, all power to him, but like, oh my god. Anyway, but thank you for that, it's very kind. It's very nice to hear that people in Games Workshop at the studio watch the videos. It's always cool. Anyway, He says, if a job ever comes up at the studio that you really want, then go for it, man. We need more folks who have a finger on the pulse of what hobbyists want and need. Thank you very much. And if it did come up, then I would do that, but I would not be giving up my YouTube channel, so there you go. I'm not sure if they would make me, but they probably would. So, this happened a few years ago now, and I've been working at Warhammer World in retail for about a year at the time. I loved it. The manager was a real treat and a gent. We worked hard, but we were also really well treated by everybody there. There is a retail workshop nearby at the time in Nottingham, and we were expecting a fair few managers to come in for some hobby supplies after the event. I have a friend called Simon, who is really into Blood Bowl, and at this time the new edition has been out for almost a year. Also, I invite him down for his 24th birthday. I want to take him to Bugman's and all of that fun stuff. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, a retail workshop is like a training workshop for retail managers in the UK. We all go to either Nottingham or well, mainly Nottingham, but there has been Leeds, Sheffield's been done once, and we have a hotel to ourselves and we just go and have fun, basically, do some training. You know, is what it is. Anyway, so Simon comes down, and as a treat, I get him the new Blood Bowl edition with his money on my account, so he gets the 50% discount. Now, you are allowed to buy people gifts on your staff discount. You just are not allowed to let others use your discount or resell anything you get on your discount. So, this is all above board. I mean, it's a grey area, but the manager literally sees me take the money from my friend, pay for the box with the discount, then turn and give Simon the box and say, "Happy birthday, mate." So it's pretty obvious it's a gift. Okay, cool. We are in Bugman's a little while later, and the managers from the retail workshop event are coming in. This is like 4 months before I met you, after another event just like this. And a few of them are shooting me evils or smirking at me. Bit weird, but there we go. My manager comes in and asks to speak to me whilst I'm having a pint with my friend. And when we are alone, he tells me there has been a complaint by one of the other retail managers that I let my friend use my staff discount. A sackable offence. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, there's only a few things that you'll be sacked for straight away. The normal stuff, physical altercations, things like that. But also, letting anybody misusing your staff discount is an instant sacking. But it's a rule that's not really enforced company-wide. So if you're a high-end manager, you're not going to get sacked for that. You know what I mean? But if you're somebody like me, then yes, you would have been. He advises me to leave right then and there and have my night out with my friend in Nottingham. He says he will meet me later. I am gutted and embarrassed as I go back to my friend's table and say that we need to leave. He is shocked and concerned as we leave, thinking that I had been sacked. I will not name the managers here, but a few from the retail workshop were finding this pretty amusing as I left red-faced. Yeah, I bet you I know who they fucking were. We went into Nottingham and got pissed, and I relayed the situation to Simon, fearing for my job. My manager comes and meets me and says he has cleared the air with the higher-ups, the head of retail, or the managers, and basically told the managers from the retail workshop to go fuck off, as he had given tacit permission for me to get my friend a birthday gift, even if it was using my friend's money. The money off was the gift. A grey area, sure, but it saved my job. My manager was also a 22-year veteran, so it's not like they were going to sack him, so he told them to basically do one. He stayed with us for a few hours getting smashed, told me to take the next day off, which was a Friday, as I already had the next 4 days off on holiday, and said he'd see me bright and early on Wednesday, the following Wednesday, for a stock intake. I was so chuffed. This legend of a man even put £75 behind the bar for us as he left without telling us. This is what a manager looks like, guys. I left retail 2 years later, but I still see him at HQ, and we have a beer every now and again. He also loves your videos, so without naming names, please give him a shout out. He is the inventor of the Golden Grot competition. You know who he is. Cheers, Exile Barthol. Yes, I do know who he is, and you know who you are, so, thank you for watching my videos, man. Thank you very much for being around and for being cool, and for being cool people working at Games Workshop. I don't want to name names of people who I know would have done shit like that, but there are a few managers who definitely, you know, would have done done stuff like that. There was one. He's probably left by now, but he worked in St Albans. That guy was a grade A cunt. Grade A, literally beyond the pale. And he was just a kind of shithead to do stuff like this. And if he was in a retail workshop, then yeah, he would have whinged about this. I mean, who whinges about stuff like that? Honestly, honest to God, who has the time to care? Who has the time to look at that, go to somebody else and say, oh, by the way, they're using a staff discount, I think that's disgusting, blah, blah. Go fuck off, get in the sea. Go away. But unfortunately, you know, for every 40% of people who work for Games Workshop who are diamonds, who are the lifeblood of the hobby, there are at least 60% of people who are like this. That are just like this. I'm so glad your manager had the backbone to tell him to do one. Brilliant. I'm so glad that he had the stones to do that, and that he's still there, and you're still there. And you know what? If I was going to work with you guys and a job came up, I would probably seriously consider it. You know what I mean? And not that they'd ever have me back, but after the videos that I've made. But, you know, yeah, I would seriously consider it, to be honest with you, because you guys are awesome. And, you know, thanks for looking after me when I was ever in Nottingham. It was always really good seeing you. And, yeah, that's all I've got for today. Thank you very, very much for watching the Hobby Nightmares. There will be more towards the weekend on Friday. And tomorrow, I will probably record a video. I'm not sure what's going to be on yet. I have several ideas. Next Thursday, we'll be recording the first of the Fireside Rants podcast, which should be pretty cool. But anyway, if you want to help me out on the channel, please make sure you go and help out Composite Games. They've done a lot to support the channel over the years. Well, not over the years, over the months. And, yeah, hopefully it'll be years. Because, yeah, the more you do for them, the more you do for me. You can use the promo code Northern Exile down below to get yourself 25% off at checkout. And if you want to be involved in any of our prize draws, or you simply want to help me out, head over to Patreon and basically give whatever you can. As I say all the time, I have a 10-for-1 rule. You know, I don't want anyone giving me anything that they can't afford or that they don't think I'm worth. If you can afford to give me it 10 times, give me it once. So if you can give me a tenner, give £1. That's the best way to make sure that whatever you're giving me is sustainable. Because, you know, I'm not going to be that guy. But thank you very much. We're about halfway towards our target of having £750 a month coming in through Patreon, which would mean I can stop relying on ad revenue so much, because it goes up and down. It's pretty bipolar, and I hate looking at it. So, love you guys long time. I will see you either tomorrow or Friday. Have a lovely rest of your day and the rest of your week. Stay safe. Have a good one.